If you've ever kicked a ball in a street, a park, a backyard, or even in your living room when nobody was watching, if you've ever felt just for a second that the whole world disappeared and it was just you, your feet, and that ball, then stay with me for a few minutes, because this is not just a story about soccer, and it's not just about me. It's about you, your dreams, your fight, and what you do when the world tells you that where you come from will decide where you can go. And I promise you, if you stay with me until the end, you will never look at a ball or your own life the same way again. My name is Edson Arantes do Nascimento, but the world came to know me as Pelé, and people like to call me the king of football, talk about my goals, my World Cups, my trophies, but what I want to talk to you about now is not my crown, it's my childhood, my fear, my failures, my pain, and the love that turned a poor boy from Brazil into a symbol of possibility. Because if that can happen to me, why can't something just as beautiful happen to you, in your own way, in your own field of life? I was born in a small town in Brazil, in a house that had more dreams than money, more love than comfort. My father, Dundinho, was a footballer too, a talented striker whose career was cut short by injury. And I watched him struggle, not only with his leg, but with the feeling of what might have been. We were not rich, we were not powerful, we were not famous. We were like millions of families in the world, fighting to pay rent, to buy food, to stay alive, to stay hopeful. One of my earliest and strongest memories is not with a ball at my feet, but with tears in my father's eyes. It was 1950, the World Cup final in Brazil, in the Maracanã, when our country lost to Uruguay. I remember my father crying like a child in front of the radio, the sound of millions of hearts breaking across Brazil. And in my small, innocent voice, I told him, "Don't cry, Papa. One day I will win the World Cup for you." I had no idea what I was saying. I was just a boy who loved his father and wanted to erase his pain with a promise he could barely understand. But sometimes the crazy words of a child become the compass of a whole life. Where I grew up, we did not have real footballs. We had rolled up socks, rags tied together, grapefruits, anything round that could bounce even a little. We played barefoot on dirt and concrete. And when I say we played, I mean we lived. We breathed. We forgot our hunger for those hours. We forgot that the world thought we were nothing. I shined shoes to help my family with money. I learned what it meant to earn each coin, and every spare moment I had, I chased that little ball like it was the last light in a dark tunnel. Maybe you grew up in the United States, where soccer was not always the main sport. Maybe you love basketball, American football, baseball. But the feeling of loving a game so much that you lose time, that you feel more yourself when you play than at any other moment, that feeling is the same in every language. That was my first lesson. Greatness does not start in perfect stadiums with green grass and TV cameras. It begins in backyards, alleys, empty lots, with cheap shoes or no shoes at all, with a heart that refuses to give up. If you are young and you feel small, understand that is where giants are born. When I was discovered by a former player, Waldemar de Brito, and he told my family he wanted to take me to Santos to try out for a professional team, I was still just a skinny kid with dreams bigger than his body. I left home with fear in my chest and hope in my hands. I missed my mother's food, my father's voice, my friends, but I knew that if I wanted to honor that promise I made as a child, I had to be brave enough to step into places I had never seen. At Santos, everything was faster, stronger, tougher. I was younger than many, smaller than many, and there were moments when the older players would look at me as if I did not belong. This happens to you too. Maybe not on a field, but in classrooms, offices, new cities, new countries. Those moments when you feel like an outsider, like everyone else knows the rules of a game you've just been thrown into. In those days, I did not talk back to them. I let my feet answer. I trained harder than anyone. While others rested, I repeated moves, practiced finishing, imagined the crowd, visualized the goals. I learned early, talent is a gift, yes, but if you think talent alone will carry you, you are already choosing to stay small. Success, as I used to say, is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing. That love was what woke me up every morning before the sun, what kept me running when my legs were burning, what made me stay after training when everyone else went home. And then, suddenly, the boy shining shoes, playing with a sock ball, found himself called up to the Brazilian national team. And in 1958, at only 17 years old, I was on the world's biggest stage, the World Cup in Sweden. Imagine, you are a teenager far from home, wearing the yellow shirt of your country, walking out into a stadium full of noise and flags and expectation, with people back home listening on radios, praying, crying, shouting your name, and you yourself are just trying not to throw up from nerves. In the beginning of that tournament, I was injured. I did not play the first games. I worried that my chance had passed before it even began. But life has a strange way of testing how much you want something, of making you wait just long enough to doubt yourself before it opens a door. When I finally got on that field, it was like the ball and I were having a conversation the whole world was allowed to hear. I scored in the quarterfinals, I scored a hat trick in the semifinal against France, and in the final against Sweden, I scored twice. People remember the flick over the defender, the volley, the celebration, but what I remember most is the moment after the whistle, when I fell to the ground and cried. Not because I was a champion, not because the world was calling my name, but because somewhere far away in Brazil, my father was listening, and the promise of a little boy had become a reality. That was for him. That was for all the children who had nothing but dreams. You might think that once you reach the top, everything becomes easy, that once you are a champion, your life is only victory after victory. That is not true. Life is not a highlight reel. It's a long game with wins and losses, with injuries, with days you want to give up. In the 1962 World Cup, I got injured early in the tournament and could not play most of it. In 1966, in England, I was kicked, fouled, beaten by defenders who decided that if they couldn't stop my feet with skill, they would try to break them with force. I limped off that field in pain, both in my body and in my heart, and I told people I will never play another World Cup. I felt betrayed by the game I loved, tired of being a target, tired of seeing my joy answered with violence. Maybe you know that feeling too, not in football, but in life, when the thing you loved becomes the thing that hurts you, when your dream becomes heavy and ugly, and quitting feels like the only way to protect your heart.
But time, reflection, and love have a way of healing. I remembered the boy with the sock ball, the promise to my father, the millions of Brazilians who found hope in our team. I remembered that my gift was not just for me, it was for them. So I changed my mind. I came back, and in 1970, in Mexico, I put on that yellow shirt again for one more World Cup. Many people say that the 1970 Brazilian team was the most beautiful to ever play the game. I don't know if that is true, but I know this: we played with joy. Jogo bonito, the beautiful game, was not just a slogan, it was a way of respecting football, of respecting ourselves, of saying that creativity, courage, and flair could exist together with discipline and teamwork. We were not just 11 players, we were one body, moving, thinking, feeling as a unit. I scored in that final against Italy. I assisted, I ran, I laughed, I cried. When we lifted that trophy for the third time, I knew I was saying goodbye to the World Cup. But I was also saying thank you to the game, to my country, to that little boy who refused to stop chasing a ball in the streets. We all like to talk about goals and victories, but there is another side of my story that I want you to hear, especially if you are watching this from America or any part of the world where you sometimes feel that your differences, your color, your accent, your background put you in a box before you even open your mouth. I was a black kid from a poor family in a country with deep inequality and racism. When I started to succeed, not everyone was happy. Some people loved me on the field, but did not want me sitting in their restaurants, in their hotels, in their clubs. I learned quickly that sometimes people will cheer for your talent without fully accepting your humanity. I had to decide, would I let their limitations become my own, or would I use every cheer, every camera, every microphone, every handshake as an opportunity to show that a boy from the favelas, from the streets, could not only play a game, but represent a nation, speak at the United Nations, work with UNESCO, UNICEF, travel the world as a symbol of peace and possibility. You may not be famous, you may never be on TV, but you have this same choice every day. Will you let the labels others put on you define your ceiling, or will you quietly, stubbornly, beautifully rise above them by becoming so good at what you do, so kind in how you live, that you force the world to look at you differently? I always believed that football, at its best, was not just about winning, it was about uniting people, bringing joy, creating moments when differences disappear and only the game remains. I saw rich and poor, black and white, old and young, all shouting together for one team, sharing the same heartbeat for 90 minutes. That is powerful. But here's something more important. You do not have to be in a stadium to create that feeling. You can do it in your family, in your school, at your job, in your neighborhood. Be the person who brings people together, who passes the ball, who shares the credit. People always asked me, "Pele, how did you score so many goals?" And yes, I worked hard, I had instincts, I had talent, but I also had teammates. Jairzinho, Tostão, Rivalino, Carlos Alberto. Without them, there is no Pele as the world knows him. You cannot win the World Cup alone. You cannot win life alone. Do not be afraid to need people. Do not be too proud to say, "I can't do this by myself." Teamwork is not a sign of weakness. It is the secret of champions. As the years passed, my hair turned gray, my knees hurt, my body carried the cost of every tackle, every sprint, every jump. People still called me the king, but I was learning a very simple truth. Kings grow old, too. I faced health problems, surgeries, and in the end, cancer. I went from running like the wind to needing help to walk across a room. And when that happens, you see life from a very different perspective. The trophies, the records, the fame, they are all beautiful, but you can't take them with you. You know what stayed with me? The smiles. The children who ran to hug me in airports. The letters from people who said watching me play gave them hope, kept them going during war, poverty, loneliness. The times I saw a kid in Africa, in Asia, in America, playing barefoot and pretending to be Pele, not because I was perfect, but because something inside them believed that if that kid from Brazil could do it, maybe they could too. This is what I want you to understand. Your greatest legacy will not be what you own. It will be how people feel when they remember you. Were you kind? Did you lift others up? Did you give back? Did you play your game, the game of your life, with honor, with courage, with joy? Maybe you are listening to this and thinking, "But I am not an athlete. I am not a genius. I am not special." Let me tell you something. Neither was I at the beginning. I was just a boy with a ball and a promise to his father. Your ball might not be leather and black and white. It might be a pen, a laptop, a guitar, a toolbox, a camera, a stethoscope, a mixing board, a baby in your arms, whatever it is that when you touch it, you feel a little more alive. That is your ball. That is the thing life has put at your feet. What you do with it is your gift back to the world. You will be tempted to play it safe, to listen to people who tell you to be realistic, to stay in the middle of the field and never take a shot because you might miss. But listen to the old striker in me. You will miss shots. You will have games where nothing goes right, where the crowd boos you, where the critics laugh at you. That's part of the game. Don't let the fear of failure keep you from even trying. The only way to never lose is to never play. But then you also never win, never grow, never know what you could have become.
In my career, I scored many goals, but I also missed many. I lost games, I made mistakes, I trusted the wrong people sometimes. I was not a perfect man. Do not put your heroes on pedestals so high that you forget they are human. Instead, let their stories remind you that greatness is not about never falling. It is about getting up again and again, about learning, adapting, forgiving yourself, and continuing to run. If you are older now, maybe you think your big dreams belong to the past, that your best days are behind you. But life has many seasons. Maybe you will not be the one scoring the goals anymore. Maybe you will be the coach, the mentor, the parent, the teacher, the neighbor who sees a young version of you in someone else and says, "Come here, let me help you. Let me show you what I've learned." Do not underestimate how powerful it is to believe in someone when they don't yet believe in themselves. I would not be Pele without my father, without Waldemar de Brito, without coaches and doctors and friends who pushed me. You can be that person for someone else. Maybe you think that the world is too broken, too divided, too dark for your little actions to matter. Remember this. A small ball at the feet of a small boy in a small town changed how millions of people feel about a game, about joy, about possibility. A smile, a kind word, a patient conversation, a moment of forgiveness. These are your passes, your assists, your quiet goals in the lives of others. Never believe that what you do is too small to count. In football, a game can be decided by the tip of a boot, the angle of a pass, a single second of courage. Life is the same. One decision can change everything. So, my friend, wherever you are right now, on a couch, on a bus, in your room, at work, in a place you love or a place you hate, I want to ask you, if your life was a match, what minute are you in, and how are you playing it? Have you been defending your whole life, too afraid to attack, to risk, to create? Have you been standing still, watching others play? Or are you ready, finally, to ask for the ball, to run, to sweat, to fall, to get back up, to shoot? Time is always running. None of us know how much extra time we will get. I did not know how long my body would carry me. You do not know how long you have. This is not a reason to be afraid. This is a reason to be alive, fully alive, today. Put your heart into what you do. Call that person you've been meaning to call. Start that project you keep delaying. Go to that training, that class, that interview. Apologize where you need to. Forgive where you can. Love with the same joy kids feel when they run after a ball in the rain. When people remember me, they remember the goals, the trophies, the number 10 shirt. But what I hope they truly remember is the joy, the way my face lit up when I played, the way I tried to honor the game, to honor the gift I was given. Now it is your turn. The world may never chant your name in a stadium, but there is a smaller, closer crowd that matters much more. Your family, your friends, your children, your community, and the voice inside you that knows when you are giving your best and when you are hiding. Play your life like it matters, because it does. Play your life like someone is watching who will be inspired to keep going because you didn't give up, because they are. I started as a boy kicking a ragged ball in the dust, and somehow that ball carried me around the world. If that can happen to me, a poor kid named Edson from Brazil, then I want you to believe, truly believe, that your own story is not finished, that your own second half can be more beautiful than your first. So when this video ends, do one thing for me. Stand up, even if just in your heart, and tell yourself, the ball is at my feet now.
Take a breath, feel the weight of your life, the promise inside you, and then, with all the courage and joy you can find, take your first step, make your first move, play your first pass toward the life you were meant to live. And whatever you do, wherever you go, never forget, the game is more beautiful when it is played with heart.